on. Good morning. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. The date is Tuesday, October 3rd, and it's about 9 a.m. Roll
Let
call.
the record reflect Commissioners Ibarra, Glacier, Hada, Nimberg, Woods Gray are present, and we have a quorum. Madam President.
Thank you. Flag salute and moment of silence.
Ms. Raj. Right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. Please join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you. Please be seated.
So we start, as always, with Commissioner comments.
Okay, I'll start. Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
I want to say congratulations to the women who were honored at the LAFD Foundation's Women's Breakfast. That was Kristen Crowley, Chris Larson, Katie Kepner, and Rosa Mercado. So that was pretty incredible. It was really nice to see everybody there and in support of the women in their leadership roles. And I want to also thank UFLAC for their support and the Chief Officers Association as well for their support of this event. It was pretty awesome. And congratulations to everybody who promoted last week, and as well as those graduating, and to see such an incredibly diverse class at 40s was also very inspiring, and that's a testament to Recruit Services. So thank you so much. That's it.
It's actually been a long time since our last meeting, and
In a month.
in fact, the 9/11 event actually followed the last meeting, and as usual, it was a very moving event, and I also attended the breakfast for the women firefighters, and I thought that was a great event, and likewise the promotional badge ceremony just this past week.
Oh, good morning. I think Dr. Harr and I can just, I can say ditto to everything, because usually he and I are at the same events. But again, the 9/11 event, memorial, was very touching, and as we always say, we hope that we'll never ever forget that. But one tragedy after another, after Las Vegas this past week, there are lots of things that we hope we never forget, I guess. I did go to the graduation. I was happy to be there for the at 40s to see so many men and women graduating. And I was actually very proud because there was a young man, I can't remember, Austin, maybe. I can't remember his last name, but he was the highest graduate in the class, an African American. For the first time, I was very proud to be there to witness that. So hopefully that'll happen again somewhere in the future. Also, I did attend the Women's and Fire Service luncheon, which was very, very nice. And I have to thank our commissioner, because she was one of the chairs, the chair of the luncheon. And she did an outstanding job. It was very, very nice, and I was impressed. We didn't know she was the chair when we went there, but when we got there, we were surprised. Co-chair. But she did a great job, and we were pleased and happy and proud of her for that. I went on Saturday, I think, yes, to the Fire It Up cook-off for the family Foundation, Family Foundation, and the African American Fighters Museum, and that was a great event. Also, it was well attended. The food was delicious. I believe that Chief McKnight was the overall winner of the barbecue, and so that was. It was fun. It was good. It was a good event, and I enjoyed it. I hope to try to go again and have more time to spend there with them. The traffic was so bad I got there a little late, but still got there in plenty of time for the taste the barbecue, so that was good. That was a good thing. And so I think that's all that happened during this time that we were off. It seemed like we were off a long time. Or that we were just busy. There was a lot of things. Because one week there were like 3 events in 1 week. Thank you.
Quickly, congratulations to our graduates, to our promotees, also to our honorees at the women's event. And yes, Rebecca did a fine job as a co-chair. Fortunately, the trophies we handed out were really nice and very sturdy, but a little slippery. But I thought that Rebecca did a very good job, and it was great to be at all the events. And thank you to all the sponsors, UVlexiWay, but also the Sparks was an amazing sponsor, and Wells Fargo also. So I want to thank them as well for sponsoring the event. Thanks.
So now moving on to report of the fire chief. Do you have any announcements, meetings?
Yes. The following are the events attended by the fire chief for the period of September 12th through October 3rd, 2017. On September 8th, the fire chief, along with Mayor Garcetti, visited Fire Station 77 to meet with the members who were involved with the Latuna brush fire. On September 11th, the fire chief attended the LAFD 911 Memorial at Frank Hotchkiss Memorial Training Center. On September 14th, the fire chief attended the firefighter graduation for Class 16-4 at Drill Tower 40. On September 15th, he attended the breakfast honoring the women of the LAFD at the Intercontinental Hotel. And later on that day, he attended a press conference organized by Mayor Garcetti to honor the Fire Prevention Bureau, as well as Building and Safety and other people involved in the Wilshire Grand Project Hotel. On September 18th, the fire chief met our returning California Task Force 1 at Fire Station 88 after their deployment in Texas and Florida. On September 19th, the fire chief attended a board of supervisors presentation for the Latuna fire presented at the Kenneth Hahn Hall of Administration. On September 24th, the fire chief, along with command staff, attended the LAFD cadet muster at Fire Station 81. September 28th, the fire chief attended the promotional badge presentation for all the people that were promoting at Frank Hotchkiss. And then in September 29th and 30th, the fire chief traveled to Sacramento for the California Firefighter Memorial, where the following members were put on the memorial wall. And that's included Firefighter Wong, Battalion Chief Boyd, Inspector Reddy, Firefighter Paramedic Wendy Cummings, and Captain Prosser. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. So I don't believe that there's a verbal report on significant incidents, but we do have a verbal report on from the medical director for medical emergencies for the period of September 5 through October 2.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Mark Eckstein, EMS Bureau Commander. Actually, I have a few positive incidents to share, which we could all use in light of the recent news. On September 7th, at 11 a.m., in Fire Station 67's first in engine 67 and Rescue 5 responded to Loyola Marymount University for a reported adult female in cardiac arrest. The chain of survival worked extremely well. Bystanders at the school performed CPR with expert direction from our dispatcher at MFC. They retrieved an AED. She was defibrillated. Basic and life support measures were provided by Assessment Engine 67 and Rescue 5 with achieving return to spontaneous circulation, and she was transported in hemodynamically stable condition to the hospital for definitive care. It was an outstanding save. And Rescue 3 on September 15th responded to reported person down. Again, the dispatcher used the dispatch system correctly and provided dispatcher-assisted CPR, and this turned out to be a 20-year-old male in cardiac arrest. And also, given the chain of survival with dispatcher-assisted CPR and expert care by our members in the field, with Engine and Rescue 3. This 20-year-old gentleman also had achieved return to spontaneous circulation and is expected to survive. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to presentations, I think we have two.
Good morning, Commissioners. Firefighter David Ortiz, Public Information Officer, Community Service Unit, Chief Mathis, and everyone else in attendance, good morning. Today we have two presentations. For the first one, I'm going to invite Chief Deputy Poyer.
Good morning, Chief Deputy Al Poyer, Emergency Operations. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Chief Mathis, Council. From August 7th to August 16th of this year, the City of Los Angeles hosted the World Police and Fire Games. We had more than 8,800 athletes visit the city, all active and retired police officers and firefighters. Men and women from more than 67 countries competed in nearly 70 different sports and disciplines and drew up to 20,000 spectators here to the City of Los Angeles. We had a total of 42 venues spread throughout the Los Angeles region. 10 of those venues were here in the City of Los Angeles, supporting 33 different sports. The games were expected to generate $70 to $90 million for the region. In addition to traditional sports such as baseball, basketball, soccer, golf, tennis, and swimming, the games include less well-known sports such as the firefighter stair climb, police canine, dragon boat racing, darts, dodgeball, and ultimate firefighter competition. Triathlon, boxing, and toughest competitor alive each presented a unique variety of emergency medical services challenges, and multiple venue sites scattered throughout Southern California presented additional challenges. We're here today to recognize the staff of the fire department. While we had several hundred members of the fire department participate in providing support for these games, along in collaboration with the Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the County Fire Department, and our CERT members, we're here today to recognize some folks from our Critical Incident Planning and Training section, along with two chief officers who coordinated the games in totality. The games were, overall coordination of the games was handled initially by Battalion Chief Don Reyes, and then as we got into later in the games, Assistant Chief John Drake came in and supported him in that role. We had folks from our Critical Incident and Planning Training section and were involved in development of the medical plan and the logistics plan, which is a massive undertaking for an event like this. We had Captain Richard Moody, Captain Ryan O'Gorman, Captain Martin Enriquez, Adrian Vasquez, and Keith Douglas, and I believe they're all here today. And so I'll talk a little bit about the medical plan. Providing for the safety of all participants, spectators, staff, and volunteers, the plan addressed emergency medical management of any illness or injury which occurred during the games, as well as provided for the general well-being of all the participants. We also have members here that were crucial to supporting the logistics of the World Police and Fire Games by acquiring the use of a large vacant Burbank Airport hangar in collaboration with the City of Burbank. And they provided central logistics distribution location for the games. And this is not only the venues, but 4,000 volunteers that required thousands and thousands of pounds of ice distribution during the August weather, tables and chairs and easy ups. And I visited the hangar one morning about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I thought I'd get there early before everybody. And there were trucks and vans caravanning in and out, and I almost was in the way because they were loading the vans and taking equipment out of that hangar as fast as they could get the trucks and vans in and out of there. It was a very impressive operation. And then after the games, when all the fanfare has died down, one of the things people forget is you have to go collect all that equipment. And so I'd like to bring those members up today and perhaps they're shy as well. I don't know if Chief Reyes wants to say a few words. He likes the mic as well. So.
Oh, thanks, Chief. Battalion Chief Don Reyes, good morning, everyone, commissioners, everyone in the audience. I'll simply say that my part of this was easy. It was a matter of putting the right people together, and I couldn't have asked for a better team than the folks we've got behind us. Their experience, their dedication, their conscientious effort day in and day out to plan this event. And most cities usually bid on this, and they have between 2 and 4 years to plan for this. We did this in about 7 months, 8 months of actual hard work. So my hat's off to all of them. I couldn't have done anything had it not been for them. In fact, I didn't do anything. They did it all. So thank you.
Well, I wanted to thank everyone for our support.
Captain Richard Moody.
Oh, Captain Richard Moody, sorry. It really takes a lot of support, and I appreciate the mayor's office for having the trust in us to kind of handle something like this, the commission, our department. I know when we kind of came up with the plan, it was an aggressive plan, and we'd never accomplished anything like this before. At least I've never seen anything accomplished like this. So thank you for the opportunity and trusting our group. Thank you.
Again, just these officers represent really the highest caliber of individual this organization had. We're really blessed to have people with the work ethic, dedication, and competence that we have. Men and women of this organization continue to impress me day in and day out, and they represent the highest caliber of people that we have in this organization. They were tasked with this, again, like Chief Reyes said, in a very short time frame, and just overproduced, completely exceeded our expectations, and I'm really proud of them and proud of the organization, and I'm happy to present them with certificates in that and recognizing them for their efforts today. Thank you very much. We'd like to take some pictures if that's okay.
That's okay, Chief. We have a second presentation.
Yep.
Thank you.
So, that's all.
Chief Poyer, thank you so much. We just have many stories of excellent work done by our professional firefighters. I'd like to share one with you. On May 8th of this year at 11:54 in the morning, Engine and Rescue 6 were dispatched to the 400 block of South Hoover between the communities of Echo Park and Koreatown. Responding firefighters found 2 workers injured after being electrocuted. Patient number 1 bore the brunt of the high voltage electric shock and collapsed in full cardiac arrest. A co-worker who had been trained in CPR immediately began to work on him diligently and continued relentlessly until LAFD arrived to relieve him at the patient's care. The LAFD crews continued to work diligently on patient number 1 with CPR and intubation, and then defibrillated the patient while rapidly transporting him to the emergency room and were able to regain a heart rhythm. The patient did not become conscious again until several days had already passed. His colleague, who came to his immediate rescue, knowingly attempted to push patient number 1 away from the high voltage energy, and in doing so, he also sustained critical burns to his right hand, making him also a hero. Firefighters assessed and treated both patients at scene and transported them to local emergency rooms. Thanks to the initial care and the chain of survival, as Dr. Eckstein mentioned earlier, CPR saved a life. This was quickly followed by the expert delivery of EMS care by our professional and well-trained LAFD firefighters and paramedics. The final delivery to the ER provided outstanding intervention, which the patients both survived this ordeal with positive outcomes. Now I'd like to read the certificates which recognize the following members. Captain 1, Christopher J. Stein. I'm going to ask you to come up and stand next to me. Engineer Sean P. Rorden. Firefighter 3, Sarah T. Halpany, who couldn't be here today. Firefighter 2, Jaime Perez. Firefighter 3, Timothy J. Cascario. And Firefighter 3, Christian T. Gunzel. Thank you. And the certificate reads, in recognition and sincere gratitude for your heroic courage, diligent efforts, personal initiative, and expedient assistance which directly resulted in saving 2 lives on May 8, 2017 at the 400 block of South Hoover Street in Echo Park, the Los Angeles Fire Department commends you for your extraordinary life-saving efforts to citizens of Los Angeles. Presented this 3rd day of October 2017, Ralph M. Terrazas, Fire Chief. Chief Mathis, do you have anything to say?
This is just another example of what the LAFD men and women do every day, and it's a perfect example of Engine and RA6 going out, working as a team effectively. On behalf of the fire chief, command staff, and all of us, thank you for your efforts, and we're honored to honor you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners? Thank you all.
So moving on to the consent agenda items, 4B is actually going to be continued until the next meeting, so we're taking that off calendar. Will somebody move the rest of the agenda items? Consent agenda items.
I move items 4A through 4J minus 4D.
4B.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
So then we start with our first regular agenda item is a report by the department on the unwanted alarm program.
Hi, Captain Jeff Lode, Research Unit, Fire Prevention Bureau. Morning. Madam President, Board of Fire Commissioners, Chief Mathis, Council. Here to present the Unwanted Alarm Program. It's a 4-tier program here. Tier 1 was established with implementing new NFIRS codes. There are 39 different NFIRS codes that we have currently to use now. Those have been implemented. We've added a few for clarification for data purposes from here on out moving forward. Tier 2 was implementing our modification to our alarm dispatches for the field resources, and that's from switching it from engine companies to light forces responding. Tier 3 is currently in process with the CAO's office, and that's the ACE program, along with the current vendor, private vendor. And I'm here to talk to you about Tier 4. That's our 90-day Firewatch pilot program that we're going to be running in Battalion 1, 17, and 18. And what that program is pretty much a refresher to those fire stations about notice writing, entering proper NFIRS codes, with specific focus on the fire code that relates to false alarms. What we're going to do is, this is a 90-day program. We're going to ask companies responding on scene when they get there to attempt a reset. If they're able to get a reset, then all they end up doing is going back to their fire station and entering the proper NFIRS code. There are currently 39, as you can see here, 39 different NFIRS codes for proper data. So if nothing's wrong, just go back to the station and fill out the proper NFIRS code. If there is something wrong, if they attempt a reset and they're not able to, they're going to issue out a Firewatch notice, and they're going to place that building on test mode with the alarm company. Companies are then going to notify the Fire Prevention Bureau, us, through a pre-established email, and that is firemarshal@lacity.org. We'll get that email. We're going to investigate with our investigators, with our inspectors, and we're also going to check with Brycer, that's our compliance engine, to make sure they meet compliance. And they're going to do a detailed fire life safety violation, our inspectors from the Bureau. Notices will be sent out to the building owner and the local fire station for accountability. MFC will be notified as well by us, the Fire Prevention Bureau, after 5 days on a fire watch. Information will then be added to the MDC/teletype for possible structure fire incidents to that building. We think that that's important for them to know when they're responding, that the alarm system is functioning or not. Makes a big difference for fire ground tactics. Their local battalion chief will also be notified by us, the Bureau, Fire Prevention Bureau, after 5 days on a fire watch. So if the building isn't repaired in about 30 days, we'll continue our legal enforcement through our legal unit and process with the city attorney's office to achieve compliance. When the fire protection systems are repaired and the fire watch is discontinued, MFC is notified along with that local battalion chief by us through that department email that we have established. And the dispatch information be removed from the MDC teletype. So this is important. After 90 days, we're going to do a fire stat audit to see the number of alarms that were reduced in those 90 days. So that's our fourth part of the program here. Anyone have any questions for me?
I just want to point out that we're in our, I think, third or fourth attempt at trying to sort this out. So I know there's been continued changes to personnel and leadership around this, so I'm hopeful that this will be the last time that we run this exercise, and we can come to a conclusion here. I'm sure you're hopeful for that too.
Yes, sir.
What is the, can you lay out a timeline for when we may see some progress and when we may actually be able to make a decision about something?
We'll start seeing progress the first month, but we want those 90 days to run a true fire stat to see the number of alarms reduced. I think that would be good data for us to collect.
So once you have that data, then what? So then you'll create there'll be a policy, or you'll have a new
we'll push that out. We'll push that policy out to the field.
Okay.
And we'll also wait for the ACE program with the CAO's office to see where that's going to end up. And we can try to move forward together on future policy.
Okay, but the ACE program exists, right? That's a thing
Correct.
already.
Correct.
Right, and we use that already. We already bill people through the ACE program.
Correct.
And so we're talking about expanding the ACE program or creating a whole new ordinance outside the ACE program.
We'd like to push for a whole new ordinance outside of that with the private vendor. We think that they're more capable of handling the workload specifically.
Okay. And if we have, if it's deemed false prior to arrival, there's no citation in that case, right? Because second call false represents a sort of a challenge for us, right? If there's a false alarm, we dispatch, then they call and say, just kidding.
Yeah, we're still pushing companies to respond. So, yeah, they will be held accountable for that.
Okay. So in 90 days, you're going to have data, and then what do we get back and when?
We'll do some minor tweaking. We'll see what worked, what didn't work. If the field was was able to adhere to the proper NFIRS code entering,
okay.
And if that worked, then we'll push that forward to the field and make it policy.
All right. So what do we see then? You're going to come back in 90 days and say this was the result of what happened.
Correct.
And here's our plan moving forward.
Yes.
And in the interim, if anything happens with the ACE, I think for fee setting, you have to come back to the commission for fee setting, right?
We do, correct, yeah.
Okay.
And those fees are at the CAO's office being debated.
I think last time we talked about the fees, I think they have to be based on cost recovery.
Correct.
So I don't know that these fees are actually going to work for you. But I'll leave that to you and your city attorney and CLO friends.
Correct.
Whatever they're called. CAO. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mixing my letters up. Okay. So presumably you'll come back here. So 90 days, you're going to be back. You're going to say, "Here's what happened. This is what we're doing."
Correct.
Or maybe
and in the meantime, we'll
because you'll need 30 days to see what happened.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we will, and we'll also that'll give us enough time for the CAO's office to report, to work in conjunction with us to see where they're at as well.
Is that for the city ordinance?
Correct.
Okay. And so are they drafting it right now?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. And you have no timeline on that?
No.
I mean, I know it's out of your hands. I was just wondering if there was like a status update on that.
No, I don't. I haven't heard anything as of this morning.
Okay.
So it says here that you already initiated the program.
We will start this month.
Oh, okay.
Later this
It
month.
says here it was initiated in February and March.
This is the ACE
With a
program. It's
Yeah, that's the
confusing
ACE.
because
That's separate
we're
from-
talking about different ways of billing people
Charging,
for things.
yeah.
So there's an ACE program, and then there's a theoretical ordinance out there too.
Yeah. What we're implementing is the training program. That's the component we're focusing on. CAO's office will handle the ordinance and the ACE program.
But we can already bill through the ACE program.
You'd have to talk to them about that.
It's not a bill.
It's not considered a bill, it's a fine.
Sorry, we can already fine through the ACE program.
And those are the established fines that are set forth in the ordinance that created the ACE program. The fire
Okay.
department is simply availing itself of the use as ACE as an alternative for citing someone for a misdemeanor violation of the fire code. Instead, they're getting an ACE citation, and as part of the response to that ACE citation, the violator has to pay a fine. So for the first violation, it's $100, and then it goes up from there. And they have to cure whatever problem has generated the issuance of the ACE citation in the first case. If they don't, then to the extent that the code violation is also a misdemeanor, then there's always the possibility that the fire department could proceed against the individual violator with misdemeanor prosecution, code enforcement prosecution.
And what's
apart from the alarm, from the false alarm?
related to the alarm, though?
It's separate and apart, except to the extent that there exists a fire code section already on the books that prohibits certain types of malicious alarms.
So what's the difference? I guess I don't.
We're trying to clarify if we can meet that expectation. If we can't, will achieve compliance through our city attorney's office through that Reg 4 compliance, the Brycer engine, Brycer compliance engine.
So I think something that we need just a little more information on is what is inadequate about the ACE program that requires an ordinance. If there's nothing inadequate about the ACE program and it can be fully utilized, then that's a conversation someone should have with the CAO's office and Councilmember Englander's office so that he fully understands what's available. If ACE is not sufficient, then that would be good to understand why it's not, and then they'll proceed with the ordinance, in which case, sounds good. I think we need a little more clarity here, though, before we come back. This body comes back to start setting fees on on why. What's different? What's not working about the ACE program that requires the ordinance, and what will the ordinance do that's different than the ACE program?
Yeah, the CAO's office with the ACE program will be getting back to Councilman Englander on that. Our Fire Prevention Bureau is going to focus on the training component of this.
Right, but you guys will be billing people if there's a violation. I mean, you're going to be writing citations.
Only after the ordinance is in place.
Yeah,
Right.
after the ordinance.
But you already write citations under ACE. That's what I'm trying to
We
get
do
at.
fire life safety violations, yeah, correct.
Right. So, again, going back to we're already writing citations. In theory, we're already writing citations.
Right. 30 days, if they don't meet that expectation, then we push them up through our legal unit.
Yes. So, it's just very confusing right now because...
That's without the fees, though, so...
No, we have a fee through ACE. There's fees. There's a fine through ACE.
Right.
So we do fine people already, right?
Right. Through our legal unit, when we push for compliance through that Brycer compliance engine, we give them 30 days, we push it on through, and let our city attorney's office handle that portion of it. The ACE program is something separate from that, and the CAO's office would be better to brief Councilman Englander on that.
Sure. So it's just like it's about clear as mud right now as far as how we interact with ACE and what we do.
Yeah, I don't even. We don't interact with ACE as far as I'm concerned right now.
So, okay, we can talk about it more offline. But I think it'd be helpful for us to get a sort of a clearer presentation about how we're going to deal with this problem from every angle, not just training, because I think we have an interest in what happens with enforcement, not just training. So maybe at some point in the next few months, you guys could do a fuller explanation about how all these things interact with each other so we can understand what the potential avenues are for moving forward. Does that work?
Yeah, that works.
Okay,
yeah, we'll get
great.
together.
So we can think about when you can come back for that. And but regardless of whenever that happens, we will definitely see you back in about 4 months to give us an overview of what happened with the training and pilot, the training program and the 90-day pilot program for Firewatch, right?
And if there's
Correct.
an ordinance at that point.
Yes, anything new happens. We'll
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you. So do I have a motion to receive and file?
Move to receive and file item. What item is this? 5A. Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, and 5B is verbal report by the department on the quarterly update on the status of information technology strategic plan. Progress.
Morning, Madam President,
Good morning.
Commissioners,
Morning.
Chief Mathis, Scott Porter, Information Technology Bureau Commander. What I thought I'd do is just give you a quick update on the top 10 items from our strategic plan, and then if you have any questions that are technology related, spend the time on those. So I'll go through these fairly quickly. If you remember last time I provided an update, we talked about the IT strategic plan, which was put in place earlier this year. We identified sort of top 10 work streams or items that were critical to the department. The process here is that as the fire chief works on his strategic plan for the next 2-year planning period, the IT strategic plan will be updated to align with that. So I'm reporting, probably I'll report one more time on this one, and then we'll have a revised IT strategic plan. I don't imagine there'll be a lot of major changes, but it'll be in alignment with the chief's strategic plan. The first item was to enhance IT service delivery. The primary focus of that item was the hiring of the CIO, which I'm here, and that happened in March. Check. And part of that, since March, I've been working on some reorganization of the IT units. We had a couple of different IT units in the fire department that are now under the IT Bureau. We have made some personnel moves to better align personnel with what projects they're working on and make sure that we have the right people on the right projects. And then we also moved the dispatch communication support, which was a battalion chief and 3 captains that were supporting our radio systems under the IT Bureau. So those were sort of some moves to make progress in this first area, which was just enhancing our service delivery, making sure we have the right people in the right places. The other thing that we're doing is we're starting to do some training on what's called agile practices, which are project management practices. So we're standardizing how we're trying to deliver our projects. So these are kind of our foundational things about how we deliver technology in the department. I think we're making good progress in that area. The second is enhanced reporting and analytics capabilities. Here, the IT Bureau is working primarily with FireStat. We're sort of making that a tighter connection in terms of how we support them and roles and responsibilities. We've been working with FireStat to help them with some selection of tools that they'll be using for analytics and also for publishing standardized reports and dashboards. They've been evaluating some tools. We've been helping them do that. And then on the IT side, we've been working to consolidate a lot of our sources of information. So one of the problems we have as a department is we have a lot of information in a lot of different places. It's very difficult to consolidate and analyze. We know the fire chief is very data-driven, so we're trying to expedite our ability to provide meaningful information. So we've made progress in changing a bit how we consolidate that information, and we now have the makings of a place where we're going to be bringing in lots more data and then putting tools on top of that for analysis. So that's pretty exciting, and we've made good progress in that area. The next area is emergency response systems. This area is probably the one you hear about the most. This area is primarily some critical CAD enhancements, operational enhancements to CAD, and most significantly, we're making very good progress on AVL, which is essentially, I think the message on AVL is that at the end of October, we'll be implementing sort of the first actual CAD enhancements that make use of a unit's location. I think the important thing for the commissioners to hear and know about our plans for AVL is, one, it's more than just closest unit dispatch. We plan to use information about a unit's location in the way we manage our resources, the way we decide where resources should go when they're not on calls, the way we track our resources, and all of those things have a positive effect on response time, in addition to better able to find the closest unit. So we've identified a few key enhancements we're going to implement. And then I guess the second message is AVL is sort of never done. It is one more tool in our toolkit of being able to manage responses. And we imagine that once the first implementation of AVL is out there, that we will continue to enhance and modify it forever, just like we do with CAD. So I think it's important to recognize that we will constantly be making adjustments and tweaks and using incident location information in this notion of AVL going forward. The fourth area was dispatch communications and continuity of operations. This is primarily with us making some changes to our infrastructure so that it's more resilient and ready. I anticipate in the next strategic planning cycle, we're going to be doing a lot more work on continuity of operations, essentially looking at where should our backup center or centers be located, how should we operate. So this work is really just foundational technology work, setting us up for, in the coming years, I think that'll become an IT priority for us. The next area is replacement of fire station alerting system. From my last report, you probably remember that we had asked for in this year's budget $3 million to go to RFP to replace our fire station alerting system. We got $1 million. With that amount of funding, we don't think that it was prudent to actually release an RFP as a first step. So instead what we're doing is we're working very closely with ITA, focusing on the area where we have the most vulnerability, which is our network. We're looking to keep in place our current fire station alerting system, but replace the network that it rides on. So we've been working very closely with ITA, AT&T, and our own internal staff to come up with some alternatives on the network. And we think that we've actually identified a very good path that will move us on to a more modern fiber-based network that connects all the fire stations using our existing system, which wasn't the plan at first, but I think it's going to get us a long way to providing resiliency in that system. We still have outages. We probably have 1 to 2 a day of individual fire stations that are going offline because of network connectivity. Earlier this year, we had several more, probably weather-related, and the type of network that we're on right now is very susceptible. It's very old. AT&T does not really continue to invest in it, so it's susceptible to weather outages, primarily rain. We haven't seen those, but so we're making good progress on that. We do have we anticipate asking for funding continuing next year to continue to replace that. Fire inspection and prevention system, we continue to work with 3DI, the vendor that's doing our brush system. Our plan right now is to continue that work into the other areas of fire prevention. We're working with 3DI now on a statement of work, and then also the finishing up of the brush application. So that actually is on plan. Workforce management system, the primary project in this bucket is looking at our network staffing system, which is our staff scheduling system. We'll be working with the Planning Bureau and members to begin to develop the requirements for an RFP for that. That'll likely be complete by the end of this year, the RFP, and then we'll be looking for a vendor to help us begin replacement sometime early next calendar year. A voice radio system and maintenance plan. This is essentially looking at our voice radio system. The biggest update here is we continue to work with ITA and our partners over at LAPD, primarily on our portable radios. We do have an issue with portable radio support. We're looking to replace those, and we're working with our partners at ITA and the PD to come up with a plan of how we can replace our portable radios. We are also working with Motorola and our partners at ITA to look at our voice radio infrastructure and working with ITA to develop a 5-year plan for that in terms of support and any upgrades that we need while LAPD replaces their system. Fleet and asset management, we continue to work with GSD on the M5 project. That project is going well. It's largely led by GSD. Fire and police and GSD are sort of joint owners of that project, and there's nothing significant to report there. And then the last is just the modernization of our application infrastructure, which is sort of it's kind of a bookend, right? It's as we do these projects, we're looking for opportunities to take advantage of advanced technologies. So several of these projects have sort of opportunities for us to move to the cloud technology, for us to move to more mobile technology, for us to upgrade our capabilities in terms of software development. So inside of that bucket, we put all of those in as we do these other projects. So I did that fairly quickly. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take those.
It's great. It all sounds great. I sound like we're making really good progress. Just as a request, if we could not do these as verbals, if you could just give us, it doesn't need to be like a full written memo, but even if you just give us the progress chart showing all the projects and where they're at, it would just be a lot easier for us to keep track of what you're saying.
Just a one-pager would be fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
And that's it. We don't have any public comments, so if somebody moves to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?